Support for the podcast is brought to you by Home Cooked. Home Cooked understands that as busy parents, you want healthy meals that can be prepared easily, but you often resort to takeout and the same meals over and over by default. Facing a similar scenario herself in 2006, Home Cooked's founder Claire Guarino decided to create a solution so that busy parents could get meals they feel good about onto their families' dinner tables without all the usual time and work. Home cooked meals are delicious and family friendly, super easy prep, and absolutely no slicing or dicing. Their meals can be customized for food allergies, level of spice, and more. Each month they offer 18 plus delicious home cooked entrees, including many gluten-free and vegetarian options. Grab and go meals are available at their retail location in Paoli, or you can place an order in advance for pickup or get your meals delivered depending on your location. Cook them right away or store them in your freezer for later. Learn more or place an order at homecooked.net. Hello, and welcome back to Parenting Stuff I Wish I Knew Sooner, and I want you to know now. I am your host, Erica Desper, founder of the Center for Confident Parenting, and a mom who just seems to know everything I need to know. I learn it the hard way and way after I need to know it. And my guest today is Nathalie Courtney. She is a professional organizer and the owner of An Organized Life, a full-service professional organizing company with a passion for creating custom and functional spaces for busy individuals, and families dealing with the challenges of work-life balance. Hey again. She's also mom to 3 college-age children, a 20-year-old and 21-year-old twins that will definitely offer us a perspective that we don't get too often. Most of us have much younger ones. Nathalie truly understands the hustle and the bustle and the organizational challenges that come with it. And she's here today to help us get organized. Thank you for joining me, Nathalie.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. I was excited to have you in general, but then this morning, despite being typically a highly organized person, I really feel like a hot mess today. Lately.
We're allowed to have those moments.
What has happened to my life? We were talking before we hit record. I ran out of time to put makeup on. You guys are getting the natural version of me today. I feel like my space is a mess, like lots of visual clutter. I was late to pick up my son, which made me late to meet with you. I'm just like, wow, it's kind of ironic that we're talking about organization today. So we're going to keep it like super real, not act like we have it all together.
It's out of your hands. Things get out of your hands. So you're good. You're good.
Yes. Even the best laid plans. Although I'm not sure I'm planning well lately either. I always think time is going to stretch longer than it actually lasts. And I'll look at my day and be like, oh, this isn't that bad. And then I'm in it. I'm like, what the heck was I thinking?
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And sometimes I get so proud of myself that, wow, I really planned that pretty good, driving time to one place to another or whatever. And it's like, I'm pretty proud of myself. And then some are just like the first thing goes over and then your whole day is just.
Yes. So there's definitely, stuff happens, but today we're going to talk about ways to maybe make that happen less often or when it's in our control. But first, tell us a bit about yourself, your background, what led you to professional organizing.
Oh, gosh. Check. Let's see. Where do I start off? Obviously, I was always an organized kid. I am married. It'll be 24 years this year. And like you said, I have 21-year-old twins. When they were born, I should say when they were 6 months, found out I was expecting again. So I had 3 under 15 months. And so if I was not organized, I probably would have lost my sanity.
Absolutely. So I'm sure you did a little bit anyway, but
it's all a blur. I think I blocked it all out. So that's completely fine. It's normal. I love my kids. So nothing was too bad then. As having 3 young ones, it's tough I commend everyone who has a full-time job in raising a family. For us, I just couldn't because I would just be working for daycare. So then, for sure. I worked,
which is only more true now, 20 years later.
Yeah, definitely. And so then I took odd jobs, here and there. I became a real estate agent when they were young. And really, I was real estate agent for 5 years. It really kept my schedule flexible for them.
Mhm.
And then when they got into sports and activities, I kind of hung up my license because then everybody wanted to see homes nights and weekends, and then practices and games were nights and weekends. So I hung up my license and I became a realtor's assistant for the next few years. And during that time is when I decided to start my business. I really enjoyed getting my clients' homes ready for sale and getting, decluttering their spaces and stuff like that. So started my business in 2017 part-time, wrote it part-time for 3 years, and then went full-time in 2021.
Awesome. And tell everyone your earliest memories surrounding your love of organizing, because I love this.
So, and the blog post is posted. So, I mean, the picture
good. I will
out
link
there
to
for
that.
the picture is out there for the world to see. As I was going through my own memory bins, everyone has those picture bins, found a photo of myself, about 11, 12 years old, in a little desk in my room, Michael Jackson poster on the wall. All my dolls are organized in my room. So that's great. The floor is clear, everything is clean. But the funny part about it is that they are all hung on the wall, which again is fine.
Awesome.
But
We're good so far.
yes. We're rolling, not, psychopath yet. And but they're all hung by their necks. So I mean, it literally has to be at least 50 dolls, Barbie dolls, Cabbage Patch type kids,
Dangling by their necks on your
dangling
wall.
by their necks. Just
See,
like,
that's why context is important. If you
Yeah.
just saw the photo and didn't know why that was happening and who did it, you'd be like, what a psycho.
Yeah.
But it was just a sweet little girl with a love of organizing that wanted her dolls in their place.
I was able to just, it's funny though, because thinking about it now, you can just pull the doll off the wall and get a built-in necklace, because now they had this string, coming around their neck. But yeah, I mean, it was a good option for that. I wasn't a big, I guess I didn't like toy boxes and that kind of stuff.
Right? Or those little hammocks that go in the corner.
Oh, no, I don't like those.
A place for everything and everything in its place, even if it's hanging by its neck.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the lines in the post is, is this, the sign of a future organizer or, a true crime enthusiast. So you don't.
Hey, I am up for either. I equally love organizing as much as I love my true crime.
Yeah. I am a forensic files.
Oh man, we should have a separate conversation about that. Forensic files. My love of podcasting came from my favorite murder. I love Karen and Georgia. I listen to them daily. I can't get enough of it.
Wow.
So funny.
Yeah, that's my bedtime stories.
I know. So. Is it like if someone's listening and they don't get it, it's cool. You just don't get it. Do you? But people who love it, like we wind down nightly with, it used to be Forensic Files, but we've binged it at least 3 times in a row. Within 10 seconds, we can say like who did it, what they used. The story is. Then we binged Homicide Hunter with Joe Kenda. Love him too. He's hilarious. Now we're on a Dateline kick. I told my son the other day, I said, hey, mommy was on TV this morning. I was on like a local news morning show.
Awesome.
And he goes, was it about murder? My initial reaction was, what? And then I'm like, oh, right. I see why you asked that. No, it was about baby sleep. Something much more professional.
Right. I mean, if Keith Morrison could come to my house and read me motivational quotes every morning.
And I just want him to lean against my wall and say something nice and slow.
Yeah.
So funny. Okay. Well, we'll have to talk about that separately. And sorry if you're not into true crime for the total aside.
Right.
So back to our topic at hand. Yeah. What areas of the home do you find that are the hardest for parents to organize or even just people to organize?
A lot of times it's closets, because they're behind closed doors. So people just feel like they can open it up and just shove it in and they'll deal with it later. Playrooms, because depending on the age of the kid, if you have multiple children, it's tough. Like obviously babies have bigger stuff. And then, then as they get into toddlers and older, that you're dealing with the race car tracks and all that kind of stuff. And those are hard to kind of put away. So they just leave them out. So most families now have like multi-purpose type of family living rooms. That's going to be, your family room, your playroom, your office, everything all in one. So, we come in and we help them kind of get those spaces in order so that you're not walking in and immediately seeing like the mess, which obviously immediately turns to stress.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if everyone feels like I do, but
Mhm.
like my heart rate rises when there's too much visual
Yeah.
clutter. And I go into what I call like Energizer Bunny mode, where I like
Mhm.
frantically start doing stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's not a healthy response, I wouldn't say. That might
Lunatic
sound,
crazy mom.
yeah, I mean, that might sound good to people like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
not motivated. I wish I could be an Energizer Bunny, but it really is like it's almost like I can't not do it, but I'm not feeling great while it's happening. And I feel
Right.
very rushed and I feel very overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Um, so it is a real thing for clutter and the lack of organization to not
Mhm.
just affect the function of our home, but like literally our mental health.
Definitely.
And then
Definitely.
I start to resent the members of my family that aren't as affected by visual
Mhm.
clutter. And they like to, we'll talk about this later. They like to have everything out in the open. And I'm like, "Grr."
Yeah.
So yeah, it really can mess everything up.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what is going on when we're disorganized? Like, what's the root cause? Is it we just have too much stuff these days? I mean, kids come with a lot of stuff, and that's
Mhm.
me saying that with only one kid. If you have multiple,
Yeah.
it doubles or triples. Is it we don't have adequate storage solutions? We don't spend enough time in little bits each day organizing? Is it all of that?
I think it's a mix of all of that plus the chaos of life now. You're having
Yeah.
parents who work full time, kids who are involved in tons of stuff. So your day is just spent going and running. So, by the time you come home, it's dinner, bath time, whatever. No one's going to be like, oh, I think I'm going to organize my house right now. And then comes the weekends, and then same thing. It's just like, why would they want to spend that time doing that? So the house becomes not a priority, which
Yeah.
is fine. I mean, you're spending time with your family, but that's our goal is to, get things functional in order for you so you can spend that time with your family doing
Mhm.
the things that you like and not saying, okay, I've got this long to-do list on the weekends,
Yeah.
clean the garage and do this, all this sorts of stuff. And then the kids just sit in their rooms and play video games while you're cleaning, and no one gets to really sit down and relax and enjoy time.
Right. Yeah. You'll never get that weekend back. Not to stress
Right.
you out, but it's true as
Yeah.
parents of older kids.
Yeah.
I don't
Definitely.
like to say like savor every moment because that's BS.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be wasting time
Yeah.
organizing a drawer or something when you could be enjoying it with your kids or just doing nothing, just chilling.
Yeah.
So if a parent wants to tackle something on their own, let's say they're feeling overwhelmed with a particular room or
Mhm.
maybe every room, what are some tips you can share to sort of break that process down so it feels more manageable? Because I think
Yeah.
that's where some people get stuck is like,
Oh,
where do
it's
I
complete.
where
It's
do I even start? I see it needs to be done. I have the time to do it, but I'm paralyzed.
yeah. It's a complete overwhelm because, sometimes people are gung ho, like, all right, I'm going to tackle, let's just use the closet again. I'm going to tackle, take everything out. And then everything's out. And you're like, oh, I don't want to put it back in. Or like you're in a storage space and you've seen those memes about people dressed up in costumes because they've been looking at all their old memory stuff and they're just frozen. So I always say start small, whether it be a drawer in your room or your junk drawer in your kitchen, that kind of stuff. Start small because once you see the effects of just that one little space, a lot of people get the motivation, the mojo to continue. And
And I
then
think there's even research behind that. I remember when I was in a women's networking group and we'd have these little roundtable discussions and they would say, like, before we wrap up, everyone pick one small thing you're going to tackle and tackle in the next week.
Mhm.
Um, because what they taught us is there's like when you get those small wins, there's a dopamine
Mhm.
release, which gives you what you need to then go further down the list. Is that something that you find? It's probably why you love what you do, right?
Definitely. And like the goal is for the my clients to be able to maintain the spaces. We come in, set the systems
Right.
up so that it's a no-brainer. It takes 10, 15 minutes to just
Hmm.
tidy something up as opposed to like a full-blown, organizing session.
Right.
So I mean, the way we work some of our sessions, like we'll come in for like 3 hours at a time, even though people have the option to buy packages and more hours. But a lot of times I'll say, let's just do our first session hourly. And that way, because we leave, you still have like, you're like so enthusiastic to keep going and you knock things out on your
Hmm.
own, which is great. And that's what we want. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so definitely people can see a little difference and they can see the light at the end of the tunnel in a way.
Exactly. So to go back to my visual clutter problem, I like a place for everything and everything in its place. I think in a different life, I could be a professional organizer.
Yeah.
Aside from first, I need to be a forensic scientist, but whatever. And my partner and our child, they are more the style of I need to see everything to know where it is. So total mismatch, right? If you were to come into a home and you had those two styles of people, like, are there solutions for that mismatch that don't totally step on? Like they freak out if I move their stuff and condense their stuff. Like, what can we be doing?
I mean, definitely. I mean, it's obviously you're not always living with your same personality, your same whatever. I mean, you can be raising your kids your way, but they're going to be their own people. So how they learn things and how they want things for themselves, their own sanity, their own organization, you're going to not butt heads, but yeah, you're going to have two different types of personalities. So, I mean, we can definitely come in and for kids, obviously, I like it to be visual. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of times kids have so much stuff that they don't play with any of it.
Right.
So,
and by visual, do you mean like clear bins or bins that are labeled with words or pictures, depending on the age of the child?
Yeah. Because I mean, it also makes it easy for cleanup. You know, they're able to put stuff away. So we can put behind the doors, you know, stuff maybe they don't use often, but I like to mix function and aesthetics together. So, you know, I mean, it's especially if it's going to be a multi-purpose type of room, like you are going to have, you know, your Legos, but they can be in a nice container, closed, put away, easy to retrieve and easy to put away. Yeah. So, I mean, not sure if that 100% answers your question, but yeah, I mean, obviously each person is completely different. So the solutions will vary.
Yeah. And I know what has seemed to work for us some of the time is my husband has certain spaces where I'm like, just, okay, contain to this, this area. I won't touch it. Do whatever you want. I'll deal with it. But like in the living room, everything's going to be put away. Right. And that's sort of our like compromise. I'm not sure anyone's 100% fine with it, but it works. It works for us. Okay. Be honest. Do you have a junk drawer in your home? Do you have multiple junk drawers in your home? You do not. How do you manage to do that? I'm pretty organized, but I definitely have like, I'll just toss this in here and deal with it later.
When I designed my kitchen, so when I designed it, the drawer that would technically be the junk drawer has the scissors, a notepad, whatever. So they have compartments. They're like little custom compartments that are in there. So everything has a home. So nothing's just shoved in there. Yeah. My husband, on the other hand, so when we redid some of our house, we put this pantry type of cabinet into the laundry room, a tall cabinet, made it our recycling center, like with pullouts and stuff. And I added a drawer in the middle. And because I kind of got tired of seeing a drill on my dining room table. A screwdriver.
There's probably a measuring tape on our dining room table right now.
Exactly. A screwdriver on the fireplace, you know, that kind of stuff. So I added this drawer, and it's a pull-out drawer, real simple, shallow. And I said,
just toss it in.
Just put it in here. And it's tucked away. You know that all your tool stuff that you need like access to a lot will be in here. So, I mean, I took it over, sort of. And, you know, there's glass jars in there, like little mason jars with all the different screws and stuff. So there's a little tray organizer. So
but that's a really good example of a compromise. There's a place now that he can use to do that, but it has some organization in it, and it's not visible for you.
Yes. But I think there's a drill on my fireplace right now.
Probably. But probably that means he's going to do something on like the honey-do list, which I do love that.
Yes. We did it. We're doing an accent wall in our bedroom and adding those boxes. Kind of like those molding boxes. So he was cutting the wood and drilling that in. So
beautiful. Yeah. We tried an accent wall in our bedroom. That's probably another episode. We were trying to put those rustic looking panels of like mismatched colors. And we were using the glue, like the whatever it's called, liquid nails. Disaster, total disaster. This episode was not brought to you by Liquid Nails. I do not endorse them on any level. We even went back to the store and got a stronger version of that after doing some research that we probably should have done in the first place.
They stayed up for 20 minutes. We celebrated. We were like, good, let's put the rest up. They all came crashing down at once.
No,
So,
we have nail gun. Like that's
good luck with your accent wall. We're in a twin, so it's a wall between houses, and we can't nail into it. So we'd have to it's a whole thing we have to do.
Gotcha.
So that project is on hold.
Yeah. You live and
talk
learn,
about
right?
Talk about the best laid plans. We had both blocked off like a whole day from work. We sent our son away. This is what we were going to do that day, and we ended up just like we painted the bathroom instead. So we got our small win of like we have to salvage the day. That is how home projects go. Yeah. So here's a question I didn't prep you for, but I'm sure you can handle it. Sure. If let's say a mom or parent is listening and like, oh, that sounds like such luxury to have someone come in for 3 hours or whatever it is and just set me up better so I can maintain it on my own. Sometimes it's just so hard to give ourselves permission to delegate something like that. And I did do an episode early on about delegating and finding your village and giving yourself permission. But just to circle back to that, like I have someone come in and clean our house now. They only come once a month. There's a bunch of reasons why I finally was able to make that move. And it's fantastic. If you can swing it, I recommend it. But it was hard. It took me a really long time to not feel, I don't know, bad, which I guess my therapist would say, what does that mean? You feel bad? Guilty? Like I should be able to handle this myself. I should be so grateful to have this wonderful house. So just clean it, just suck it up and clean it.
Right.
Like what would you say to a parent that's really wrestling with that's a luxury or I should be able to handle it? Any of those things.
Yeah. So one, it's the reason I had kids, so they become my cleaners.
Darn it, I am messing that up.
But no, I mean, and they're all away now, so I lost my cleaner.
Right.
So now I'm like, oh, what do I got to do it myself? So I hear you. Like I've toyed with the idea of hiring a cleaner, but same thing in my head. I'm like, no, if I just, makes like time block, here's an hour on a Saturday morning to really deep clean and then surface clean the rest of the week, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I mean, parents are so busy these days with, like I said, everything, the hustle and bustle of work, life, sports, school, everything that they're like, it gets on the back burner. We are considered a luxury service. Obviously it's not a necessity to have your things organized, right? But it is a necessity for your mental health. It's more of like, I mean, agreed. I will come in, by all means, if anybody's posts on Facebook and stuff like that, asking for recommendations for this and that, I'll message them or I ask if I can message them and I'll gladly give tips. I'll say, just give me some pictures and I can tell you off the top of my head what I think could work. And when we do our consultations, they're complimentary. We walk through and I said, I don't mind giving you suggestions because I mean, a lot of times clients think they need a whole overhaul, a whole remodel of things when you just need to tweak it to be a little bit more functional. Right. So, I mean, in those instances, and I understand you pay for my time. So I'd rather give you tips that you can do on your own. And then when we come in, we just kind of, make it all not perfect, but I mean, pretty, but yeah, we come in and we get our job done so that they can relax and it's an investment, so we don't necessarily say it's like, oh, this is what you're paying. It's an investment in your home, in your life. I've had so many people, text me, like we come into clients' homes when they're not home. Like they're very trusting. We come in, do our work, and then they'll text me in the afternoon. Oh my gosh, I can breathe. Oh my gosh, this looks great. Oh my gosh,
that's the thing. I breathe better, more easily when it's organized.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me, but I think it's a lot of us. And what I love about getting help for organization is that it isn't necessarily something like cleaning that like, you clean and a week later you're like, everything's dirty again. Like once the system's in place.
Yeah.
I know that you do offer maintenance and maybe some families would take advantage of that, but I just think if you're feeling bad, whatever that means, it could be like a one-time, let's just get a better system in place. And then it will be more realistic for you to kind of take over. And
we have a ton of clients that just like, we don't know what to do with this space. Can you come in and help it? And that's it. I mean, and we're done with them. But yeah, it's, like with the cleaning thing, a lot of clients will be like, I have to clean before the cleaner comes. Same thing with us, Right, right. It's just like you said, you don't know why.
I'm a work in progress.
Yeah.
I have to pick up before the cleaner comes. I
Right.
don't clean, but I also don't feel like it's their thing to like I don't like leaving dishes in the sink for them. They'll do
Right.
them. I kind of feel like it's rude.
Oh,
I
know.
have
You
started
leave your
leaving
house a mess.
I've started leaving sheets out for them because I really hate, and that's the thing I would say to a parent who's struggling. Like, if you're struggling with overwhelm or lack of time or resentment or whatever, just like, what is the biggest time suck,
Mhm.
or what is the thing that is the biggest energy drain? Because for me, it was cleaning. I do like you're talking about deep cleaning in an hour. I'm like a little bit of a psycho, so I'll find myself like I just spent the entire day
Mhm.
cleaning the house, and that's not really something I can keep up with.
Yeah.
So that was like my gift to myself is like, you know what, you're not going to have to just do, like you said, the surface stuff in between, just leave it better than where you started. And just let somebody else do this.
Yeah. And when I talk to clients, like on a consult, I said, don't touch anything. Leave your space as is. I need to see how
you want to
did
see
it.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm
for
like,
sure.
don't clean. And you know, we will be in homes at the same time as the cleaners will. And they'll be vacuuming around the messes. Or they take it and they throw it somewhere, you know,
Right.
like, and obviously people have organized chaos and they know where their stuff is, you know, even if it's a mess everywhere. But yeah, it's like, wow, you know, paying people to clean and they're just cleaning around the messes. Like,
Right.
so that's another, you know, incentive to be like, let's get this done. So, you know, your house is getting thoroughly cleaned.
Right. And also this isn't forever. Like if you have little
Right.
ones, it's really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but they do get older. They can take on more for themselves, and then they do fly the nest. So we're really talking about getting help during the period that is just chaos, like you said, and that is worthwhile.
And everything that we do, you know, when we're organizing a kid's space or whatever, is always using something that's versatile that can grow with them. You know, so it's like, whether it's arts and crafts, whether it's, you know, a school space, anything like that, we're using stuff that they can use all through, you know, high school and that kind of stuff. It's not baby type of, you know, containers or anything like that.
Right. So you're sort of looking ahead. That's a great point. Right. Because we are sometimes just thinking about where they are right now, but they won't be there forever.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was all super, super helpful. For anyone listening feeling overwhelmed, just consider giving yourself the gift of organization or house cleaning or both. They're both amazing. So let's shift a little bit. Let's take off as much as you can your professional organizer hat and go back to just the mom stuff. I'm not good at math, and I've always promised not to do any on this podcast because it's embarrassing. But if your kids are 20, 21, and 21, that means at one point you found yourself with, I was going to say 3 kids under 2, but I think you said it earlier.
Yeah, 3 under 15 months.
Under 15 months, which like my heart just skipped a beat.
Yeah.
Think about it.
The house was, I mean, they were obviously corralled. They were corralled in the living room. 3 high chairs, a triple stroller, everything in 3s. The twins, they used to, like when they were younger, there was
Irish triplets.
Kind of. But they liked the little travel swings. And then when the 3rd one came along, she didn't like that at all. So we had to get a regular swing. So I mean, it was just
so much gear that takes up so much space.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, obviously built-in playmates, but also built-in mischief makers.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've walked into a living room and covered in petroleum jelly.
Like all those viral videos that are so popular now, but you were like living it before that was, we didn't even have social media back then.
No, oh my gosh.
Smartphones. Probably have no evidence of it.
No. And you know, I was just like, okay, cool. They're alive today. I did my job.
Exactly.
You know, it really, it's a blur.
I'm sure
you know,
it would have to be,
but I literally would take them out, walk them all in the triple stroller. My mom would come over every once in a while. We'd go to Target. And I mean, my kids have always been really good. We'd go to Target and put some pillows into the cart, sit them in the cart and let them grab a toy or a book. And we'd walk the whole Target. And as soon as we got to the registers, we're like, time to put it back. Never once had a fit about that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, wow. Thank you guys. you
know? Right? They made it a little easier than it could have been. And that's pretty rare to get like 3 for 3
Yes.
that can handle stuff like that.
Yes.
What do you remember? I mean, aside from just the every moment chaos, like what really stands out to you as the biggest challenges when they were all so little at the same time?
I mean, I went through infertility.
Mm-hmm.
So it took us 2 years, which I mean, not terribly long, but it took us 2
Yeah.
years to have them. And, we went through infertility drugs and that kind of stuff, in different, all the ultrasounds, all that stuff that you had to do. And, just getting pregnant was great. And then a couple weeks later, they were like, "Oh, how many bedrooms you got in your house?" And we're like, "Why?" And they're like, "Oh, we see 2." I'm like, "Awesome. That's wonderful." So my husband was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, what did you expect? We were having, fertility treatments. There was obviously a big chance."
That is one of the things that comes along with it often.
Yes. And then, my pregnancies were pretty good. I mean, I had that whole first trimester, like nausea and stuff like that. So I lost weight from that. But then when it came time when I felt better and was eating, so I gained it and pretty much all went to the belly, which was great. And so with the twins, I think I wound up gaining 27 pounds.
Okay.
But they came 2 months early, which we knew could happen too.
Yeah.
But we were not prepared for that early. So it was 3 a.m. I got up, all of a sudden the breathing kicks in and said, what is this happening? And
oh my gosh.
Tried to wake up my husband, and we were only 10 minutes from the hospital. So he sits there putting on his pants real slow. I'm like, "No, you don't understand. We need to go."
He's like, "I've got 2 months still."
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to the hospital and they're like, "How far apart are your contractions?" I'm like, "I have no idea what's going on. Just something's not right." And they took me up and they said, "Your blood pressure is high, really high. We need to lower and deliver." No bag, no camera, no nothing. We just went. So they were delivered within a few hours. Daughter came first, son came second, 3 pounds, 4 pounds. And, they obviously went right to the NICU.
Sure.
And I was expecting them to be small, but they said if I would have gone full term, I would have had over 8-pound babies each. So I wasn't trying to carry 16 pounds of baby.
No, thank you.
But, yeah, I mean, they did great. They stayed in the hospital for a week, over Halloween, and NICU nurses made them costumes. So they were like little itty bitty Tarzan and Jane.
That's so cute.
So it was really cute.
And that's not too terrible a week, all things considered. No. I'm sure it wasn't awesome either, but
the funniest thing with that is that I was supposed to be in one of my best friend's weddings. And when I found out I was having twins, she's like, "Maybe it won't be a good idea." And I said, "All right, that's fine." So I was released the day of her wedding.
Oh.
And it's kind of like I had built-in babysitters because they were in the NICU. So then I was released. I got home, took some Percocets, and went right to the wedding.
Oh my goodness.
Pounding beers because the nurses said to drink beer to bring in your milk. And people were like, "Didn't you just have some kids?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And then
they're with the nurses. Don't worry about them.
It was great. And when we took them home, it was
Talk
raining.
About a birthing gift.
Right? Thanks. When we took them home, it was raining, and the nurses laughed and they said, "Oh, there's an old wives' tale that if you take your kids home on a day that it's raining, you'll be back within the year."
Oh.
Can I tell you, when they were 6 months old and I found out I was pregnant, I was like, "Oh my God."
That popped into your head, right? Yeah. They jinxed you. Sorry to the third child. I know you weren't a jinx.
Right. She completes the family. But yeah, it was just a craziness because I'm like, "Oh my God, like how are we going to do this?" Because, I mean, we were limited with income and stuff with all of that, and then throwing another kid into the mix, and no fertility this time. It was just my body.
I blame the beer. It brought the milk in, and it
that was 6 months prior. But yeah, it was crazy. And then, I planned her C-section because I said, I don't want to try to go through all that craziness, and woke up the one morning, I'm having a baby today, had her. And that was the first time the other 2 got sick. So I had like 4 people at my house watching sick kids. So I had to come home early from the hospital with her, bringing her home to a chaotic home. And she was 8'10". So, I mean, she was my chunker.
You make solid babies.
But yeah, and they just grew up together, and we were outnumbered at this point. So it's like whatever.
When you were outnumbered, were you more of the mindset of like, just a minute, I'm loving every minute. This is like organized chaos. Or were you like, I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel and I'm thinking about it constantly? Like, how did that feel? Or was it just
No.
both?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit of both. Mainly the first one, mainly like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. Like I enjoyed having twins. I enjoyed being like, oh, I have twins, you know? And then I was like, oh, I have 3 under this age. Like, oh my, everybody's reactions like, oh my God. And, but on the other hand, you know, one was a colicky baby, you know, one
Mhm.
had issues sleeping. So those kind of things, it's like, oh, you
Not
know,
loving
we'd
that
up
part.
in the middle of the night and that kind of stuff. But that ended pretty quickly. Like I don't remember it going on, but you know, you go with your different challenges and stuff as each age goes, and
Right.
you know,
And I
don't.
think it's really helpful to note and hear, as crazy as that probably was, and as outnumbered as you were, when you look back, it's a blur. Like you remember the good stuff,
Mhm.
you remember the blur, but it doesn't last forever. And now you're probably, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but you probably love the fact that you have 3 around similar ages, and
Mhm.
especially when they were cleaning for you, you probably
Yeah,
really love that.
yeah. And now she's the one who's known as the cleaner in her dorm. So I'm like,
There you
yeah,
go.
I'm so proud.
That's a rare thing in a dorm.
Right? She's like, oh my God, these clothes are so messy. I'm like, she's like, I'm
Right?
organizing, you know, on Sundays, and I was like, oh, my love
That's
heart.
so, she's, yeah, apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
So you must have, to survive that, come up with some mom hacks, twin hacks that like you couldn't have lived without. Are there any that you want to pass along to people in the thick of it
I
now?
mean, nothing pretty crazy. A command center was like one of my
Mm,
top things when they were like elementary, middle school. It was a literally like a bar with hooks and
hmm.
and then 3 wall bins right above it, and each of them had
Okay.
their initials on it. So they got home from school, hung up their school bags on those hooks, emptied
Mhm.
out their school bags in each of their bins. So
Okay.
that way, any important paperwork and stuff we weren't missing. You know,
Hmm.
everything was. It was like a routine. You know, you come home,
Hmm.
hang up your school bag, empty it, and so on.
Yeah.
And they've learned even from like when I go to grocery shop, there's a place for everything in the kitchen.
Right.
So it's like an assembly line. You know, the kids help bring the
Mm.
stuff in and they're unloading, they're decanting, you know, putting the noodles in the jar and that kind of stuff. So they're, you know, it's funny, you know, they go to other friends' houses and they're like, oh, they don't do this?
Like
Sorry.
your closets aren't color coded? What's wrong with you?
Right. No, and mine aren't. I mean, I would say at my own. So as a fault, as an organizer, that's the one thing. Like laundry is my like, oh,
Mm,
you know. So I mean, I do admit sometimes I'll live out of a basket, and
that's good to hear as well. Like
yeah,
you do what you do, but it doesn't necessarily carry
yeah,
over to every
right,
area.
yeah, and same thing. Like we're busy. I mean, we're a team of 5,
Yep.
so it's just like we're usually booked all month long. So it's like
Mm.
coming and going. And as being a business owner, obviously behind the scenes, like
Yep.
I'm my social media person, I'm this person, this person, this person. And it's like, I could be sitting on the couch, you know, on my phone and my husband will be like, oh, I get off the phone. I'm like, oh, I'm working, you know,
Right.
I'm planning a post or something like that.
Yep.
So,
It never
yeah.
ends.
Yeah. And I mean, what's nice is that like, since the kids are all gone, I have the flexibility to work as much as I
Right.
want. You know,
That
I
it's
mean,
easier. Yeah,
I was
I
a
can see a light at the end of the tunnel with
yes.
that too.
Yeah. I was a
Um,
sports mom for 15 years. So, I mean,
right.
I drove
That's a lot.
everywhere and flew and did
Yep.
everything. So now it's like, you know, it's my time.
It frees up so much time. So
Mhm.
now that your kids are grown, is this is a tough question. Is there anything you did back then or didn't know? Like, what do you wish you could get a do-over for? Or is that not a thing? You're like,
Um,
I did it all. I did it
it's,
all right.
it's definitely a thing, but I mean, I am super proud of my kids. They've always been good kids.
Mhm.
So, you know, we would like I think I had mentioned to you before, like we would go shopping and my girls are close. My girls are like best friends. We'd go shopping and with me and they'd be like, can we get best friend necklaces? Like so they were really super close to me too. So, you know, and they would see other kids, you know, misbehave and they would look at me and be like, why are they doing that? And I'm like, I don't know,
Right.
you know, but I mean, so that's another thing. Like sometimes I'll work alongside parents who are very frustrated and overwhelmed with their kids, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about it. and sometimes they may not be looking at something in a certain way. I'm not the type of flip out parent. I'm very just chill and be like, it is what it is, just try your best. And that's how we've always just instilled, just wanted them to be good people, and grades, obviously, like, everybody's not scholars and stuff like that, but just try, just try. And then, right now, just with how everything is crazy in life, tempers tend to rise faster, fuses are shorter.
Yeah.
And, I've been in homes that the parents are really yelling at the kids while they're there. And, the kids might have just hung something in the wrong spot. And,
Right.
it's kind of like, all right, let's just bring it down,
My
because
son likes to hang things on the floor. We're working on working on using the hook right above where he drops it on the floor.
I mean, my husband misses the hamper consistently. And
Yep.
it's right next.
Like,
He's
it's
throws it.
right there.
So I hear it. But, for me, I think one of the things, because I was always worried when the kids were really little and I just needed to get away to the food store. Like
Right.
I'd have my husband's grandma would come over to watch them. And I would be like, apologizing, sorry, this is this and this is this. And it always just stuck in my head was like, it'll get done. Don't
Mhm.
worry about it. It'll get done. So it's kind of always stuck. You're right. You're right. And over the years, having jobs that, and besides my work now, but like having other jobs that were stressful and stuff, things aren't worth your health. Things are not, it's not worth getting yourself in a big rise in your blood pressure and all that kind of stuff when something it's like it'll take 15 minutes to take care of later.
Yeah.
So
Yep. All right. Well, there's so much more we could talk about. I'm
Yeah,
sure I
right.
will have you back. But for today, we'll wrap up. I just have one more question for you. So the premise of this podcast is, to convey things that we wish we had learned, discovered, done sooner, that we want other parents to hear or know or do now. So what's one thing you've learned on your own parenting journey that you wish you'd known sooner and you want parents to hear today?
For me, it's kind of like stay in your own lane. Don't compare yourself to other parents or other households. It's easy to do that, when the kids were young and their friends had beach homes and that kind of stuff. And we didn't. I was like, hey, you go live your life with your friends. Like, it's all good. But I think it's so easy right now, and with social media and trying to keep up with everything, that, you're there to give your kids stability. You're there to give your kids, a home, food, that kind of stuff. Obviously, that's number one. Second, obviously, if you can afford that, thing's awesome. But I've come in contact with so many children that are like spoiled, and it's just like, and the kids don't play with any of their things. Like, they want it and the parents give it to them. So I think for me, like, because like my kids were all so close together, I was like, I can't buy you everything that you want. That's crazy. But I'm not knocking anybody who can. That's great.
Right.
But like, you want to make sure you're instilling these things in the kids, that they appreciate what they have and they appreciate hard work, because you're not raising just as kids, but you're raising those to be adults.
And I feel like being organized is part of appreciating what you have. Like, if you can't find anything, then you don't know what you have to play with. So maybe you don't play and you're not creative. And if you don't put things away, you're not really taking care of them. So it definitely is all tied together.
Yeah, it is. And it's just like, I just want to teach people that it's just a simpler life. You know what I mean? With no stress. But I guess obviously stress is going to happen. I get stressed multiple times a year, especially when it's time to send.
Well, like we talked about at the outset, things are going to happen. There's going to be traffic. People are going to show up late, keep you waiting. But if we have these things situated, then maybe we just have more bandwidth to deal with the stuff that we can't control. Yeah. Which can give us a more simplified life. Well, that is an awesome tip. Nathalie, thank you so much for joining me. Your story's awesome. It's exciting to see your kids all grown and what they're doing with their lives. You clearly did a great job. Listeners, I'll be back soon with more stuff that I and others wish that we knew sooner. In the meantime, I'll leave you with my list of stuff I learned the hardest way. Your to-do list will always be there. That applies to today. So usually I say put yourself on it. I would also add today, delegate to make your to-do list shorter so you can be on it. You can get some time, energy, bandwidth for yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup, so schedule ways to refill yours every day. And there's no way to be a perfect parent. Lots and lots and lots of ways to be a good one. So let's aim for that. I'll be back soon with more, and we appreciate you for listening and watching. Bye.